Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening in the stars above. So again, good morning to everybody. I missed hitting the record button, so I'm saying good morning again. Grab your cup of coffee or tea, sit back, and let's chat about what's happening up in the stars above. So I hope everybody's doing well. I missed you all yesterday. I just decided in the morning when I woke up that it was a perfect day for me to run off and do the blood work that I needed done that I've been putting off. So no more putting off until tomorrow. What I didn't want to do today, I did it and it's done. And now I can relax and just not feel like every day I'm forgetting to do something or, have something hanging over my head. So anyway, it's great to be back and good to be able to report what is happening up in the sky. Today, we're going to talk about the moon, who happened to have been in a very long void, which was the second of two voids in one day. It began on the 6th. Right, we had the very short void, and then later in the day, at least West Coast time, let's see, what time was that anyway? It was at 9:37 at night, so it was actually the next day for most of you on the East Coast and beyond. That the moon then went again into the void, where it would stay until today, the 8th, and that won't be until 11:12 a.m. Pacific time. So that'll be 2:12 p.m. for those of you on the East Coast. So we'll be back with the moon in the sign of Pisces, changing up the energy, a lot different energy in Pisces than there is in the sign of Aquarius. So the moon shift into Pisces today gives us the more cool feeling, right? The colder energies of water and the energy of compassion and cool hearts, right? Cool hearts or cool minds prevailing. However, we also have Mercury in retrograde in a square, i.e. challenging aspect to the planet Mars today. Mars burns hot. Mercury retrograde in a square is challenged to speak or to do by the planet Mars in this particular instance, or let's just say Mercury in retrograde challenges Mars. And here's where we have hot. So that's where in my title this morning, we're running hot and cold. And that's because we have these two energies. Now, likely, if you run hot water and cold water together, what do you get? Warm, right? So maybe we can dampen down the hot and we can warm up the cold so that we get warm instead of that hot. I'm going to put my coffee down before I spill it on myself. So it is going to be an interesting day as we're merging through all of these different energies that seemingly are in opposing kinds of elements. Now there's everybody. I see you all popping in. Good morning, Debbie Tibbetts, Tumiel, and Marcella and Amy. Camilla, great to see you. Or Camellia, I think is how you say that. And it's great to see you. Mimi and Kimberly and Terry, hello. And Amanda J. and Asa, beautiful. Great to see you. J-Lo, good to see you. And Destiny Clark and Tati, good morning to all of you. I don't know where all of you were on Monday. There was Deborah Johnson and two other people that I didn't know on my morning show. Good morning, Allison. And I thought I was in some kind of alternate universe, that I had somehow gotten into the Twilight Zone, because it was like nobody I knew other than Deb Johnson were in here. And it, of course, is my morning broadcast on to the Oneness Talk Radio. So I thought I had done something wrong. Maybe it didn't broadcast. It was too funny. I was just sort of almost tossed off my game because I'm so used to seeing all these people checking in. And Destiny, I was here and even commented, "Ooh, I did not see that, Destiny. I think you couldn't see our chat. Maybe that was it." And yes, I was. J-Lo. Yesterday I was not on J-Lo, but on Monday I was definitely. Jennifer Peachy, good morning. Allison, good morning to you. And yeah, so I thought it was weird because I thought something was odd. That was definitely true. And I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. Amanda, I think I did see you, Amanda. And did you ask a question that I answered, or did I not answer it? That might even help me determine what was going on, because I did see a couple of questions that I answered. In the meantime, let's talk about this Mercury retrograde squaring Mars today, because I think it really overrides a lot of the energy of the day. It is the, okay, so ask your question again, Amanda. Thank you. It is the second of three, excuse me, of these particular transits that are going on, connections, I would say, between Mars and Mercury. And here is the first pass was on May 11th. The second pass is today, and the third pass will be on July 27th. And I was sort of looking this up to see, is this common? Because I don't remember speaking about it any time in recent memory. And it's actually 3 passes this year and 3 passes next year. And then the next 3 years are all single passes. So it's not all that common to find them coming into a square 3 different times, certainly once a year, but 3 times is kind of unique. And that just happens to be because Mercury and Mars are in a 90-degree relationship with each other at this moment. The signs they are in a 90-degree relationship. So we have Mercury retrograde in Cancer, and then we have Mars in Aries, and they make up that part of that square that we've been talking about. With Mars moving through Aries, it would square Cancer and square Capricorn and oppose Libra. So we see a lot of that hot energy between any planets that move through those signs. They're triggers perhaps to events, or they're triggers to blow-ups or conflicts that we see, confrontations even going on in our outer world. And of course, it also affects your inner world, as these are inner planets, or they are the personal planets. So they're part of what happens to us personally, as opposed to societally or in the collective. So it's important for us to really understand. So Mercury retrograde in Cancer, this is something we've been dealing with for a couple of weeks now. Mercury in a sign where there's a lot of emotional filtering of our feelings, I mean, of in our mind. So when we're thinking a thought, it comes along very powerfully with an emotional energy. So when you mix those kinds of thoughts with emotion, and then you add Mars into the mix, well, you can see how likely that can add up to a kaboom, or some kind of conflict or confrontation between you and another person or other people. So here what we have, there are several different things that we can look at. One, Mercury rules our thinking, and Mars is pushing action, and he's in a sign he rules. He is not retrograde, and Mercury is. So it means that the hot energy, the dynamic energy of Mars can override Mercury very easily. We may be feeling like we need to rush our thinking, leading to impulsive decision making. And here's my opportunity to tell you to use your type and your strategy and your decision-making authority from your human design in order to make the best decisions for you yourself, right? Making those decisions, not feeling or being rushed into making decisions like that. Likely, if you are doing that, you might find you're making the incorrect decision, and later you've got to course correct. What does SpongeBob have on his head? Oh my goodness, Terry. So here we are in the need to slow down expressing what we're thinking, because remember, Mercury also rules our voice, right? What we say. And sometimes we may have thoughts that pop into our head that then pop out of our mouth before we have an opportunity to think about it. And in that case, then you may be hurting someone's feelings, or you put your foot in your mouth. You've heard that saying, right? This is one of those days, actually a couple of days here, of not wanting to put your foot in your mouth, right? Because we also have Chiron getting ready to shift on Saturday into retrograde. And so there could be this lingering wound from the things that you say today, tomorrow, and the next day. So be very wise in how you word what you have to say, right? You can often get away with saying what you need to say based on how it is that you, how the tone you're using in your voice. You can tell people something and really be able to meter how it is you say it, and that can help to be able to get your point across, but without hurting someone. And that's because too, we're also irritable and touchy and sort of feeling, that just irritation at the world. And at the moment, that can mean anything, right? It could be the politics of the world. It could be coronavirus. It could be personal things going on in your own life, maybe economic pressures or things like that, that, are adding up, right? It's like one thing added to another, and we go kaboom, right? Feelings bottled up, right? Frustrations bottled up, anger bottled up, that suddenly finds a pathway through the voice or through the mind to be expressed in the outer world. So it could erupt like a volcano. I think I did hear over the weekend of some of a Japanese volcano that erupted and sent ash up 28,000 feet into the air. 28,000. That's a lot. That's a very powerful volcano to be able to do that. Today and tomorrow and the next day may even be marked by nervous energy. Mercury is a sign of the nerves, so we may feel that we have a lot of energy and it needs an outlet. If it doesn't get an outlet, that's when we become self-sabotaging or when we strike out at others as a way to release, right? Think of a pot that's coming to boil and the lid, constantly bumping up as the bubbles are rising to the top, as that energy is rising to the top. Well, that's kind of what we are, right? We've got this pressure cooker going on and it's rising to the top. So we need some way to be able to release this energy. It would be a great day to be able to focus on your hobbies, to put all that energy into creativeness and then create something of value in the world. Or for your own life. Take a walk in nature today. Maybe if you feel that anger bubbling up, walk away. Walk away. Do a tour of the neighborhood or go out to your nearest beach or woods or whatever is appropriate for the area that you live in based on what's going on with the virus in your world. Do non-competitive physical sports maybe or exercise. And I say non-competitive because when you have Mars in the mix, if you decide that you and a friend are going to go do some, racing of some sort, then it becomes a competition and not just something for fun. And you're not really relieving any of that stress. You're actually building up more anger and anxiety over winning versus losing. So we don't want to get into that either, right? Remember too, that we still have Pluto and Jupiter hanging around the gate 61 in our human design, the middle gate up here, whose shadow energy is psychosis. And we do not need any more further triggers to move into psychosis. So cool, calm, collected, breathe, and maybe even, just do some things today that can help you relieve that tension and that stress without being angry or overtly negative towards somebody else. And then it goes without saying, then today is also not a great day to make big decisions, right? The whole week is about starting something new, right? We're going to look at that in human design here in a few minutes. You just don't want to start something new in a knee-jerk fashion that ends up going nowhere, right? That's the big deal. If you start something now out of irritation or frustration, it has a large chance of not being successful and thus creating more havoc than it's worth. So being very careful about what you choose to do today and maybe even a little bit tomorrow, but knowing that if you've already had something in the works, that if you've been working with a plan and you're ready to strike, this might be a good time to do that. You have the energy around it. Just slow things down a little bit so that your mind isn't moving ahead of your action, or more than likely your mind lagging behind the action. So being cool, calm, and collected really helps there. Okay, coming back over here, Amanda says it was to do with Chiron. If it's retrograde in your natal chart, does it change how the transit affects you? Not really, because, for instance, many of us have Mercury retrograde in our charts. A lot of you have probably Saturn or Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Neptune in your charts. The further out the planet goes, the longer period of time it spends in retrograde each year. So a lot of you are born with a retrograde planet. And then when the planet turns retrograde, it's nothing new or different for you. It's the same sort of energy. It matches your birth chart. So while there's not a lot of big upset around it, there could be some movement along something that's been wounding to you. And it may be a good time for healing for you. Not that it isn't a good time for healing for others, but somehow I just feel like when the retrograde happens, right, it always turns us more inward. If you have a natural inward focused planet, then it's an easy switch for you to go from the outward expression to the inward expression. So you're more likely to have an easier time shifting from that more worldliness to the more inner world, processing your own things, right? Doing your contemplation work and so forth. So I hope that helps, Amanda. Kimberly, definitely noticing the energy today. I've already cleaned the kitchen and watered the plants. Yesterday was that day for me. I just felt like I needed to get things done. It was an interesting, I often experience energies before they happen. So I sometimes feel like I'm out of time, meaning that like the energy for today I was sort of feeling yesterday, even though it wasn't there yesterday. And that gives me that I think, to be able to explain it to other people when it pops up in the outer world. J-Lo, I am actually just searching on my family tree in Ancestry. I love that. J-Lo, I don't know if you were listening to us at the time, but I had gone into Ancestry and done a DNA test. And when I got the results back, my results matched this man who I had no idea who he was. And he was close to me, as in he was likely a brother or a first cousin or something like that. And it turns out I had found 7 or 8 other brothers and sisters. And it was such a crazy time. And it really opened up my ancestry for me, because I had a blank spot where my father's lineage was, because I didn't grow up knowing my father. And of course, these are older. A lot of them were older. All of them were older than me. So they all had memories of my father, which was so fascinating to find out. So ancestry, great aspect of things to be doing during Mercury retrograde in Cancer. That's perfect. It's perfect. Mimi, yep, working on some eco printing on scarves. And as far as Facebook goes, limit replies. Indeed, Facebook is going down, down, down. Or at least the quality of Facebook is going down. Hopefully there's a change in that at some point, but I try to stay away from it as much as possible, except to be in my, business. Other stuff, it's incredible what's on there. Destiny, wow, Kim, want to come to my house? Yes, Destiny, organizing and hanging out. That's awesome. And Amanda said that helps. Asa, yes, I am the same way. I feel the energies early too. Always felt my chart was off until I met you. And you're not off at all, right? J-Lo, I just bought mine and I'm about to do it. It's weird. I found my grandpa, but cannot find my mom certificate. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Maybe your mother's birth certificate. And Ancestry is such a cool thing to do. It is incredible and just incredible. And it's also scary a little bit because, I think a lot of people have fear around being discovered or finding out something they didn't want to know about their family. And I didn't have any of that when I went into it. I was looking for whatever I could find about my family. And in fact, I was really interested to find out what percentage of my DNA came from Native American blood, and none did. And that freaked me out because my grandmother was Cherokee. How does that happen? And so anyway, I still haven't solved that mystery. So it opens up mysteries, and I love a good mystery. So carry on there, J-Lo. You'll find out some really good stuff, I'm sure. Now let's switch over to the moon for the day, because we are sitting with the moon in Aquarius right now in the void, and it's in the void until after 11 o'clock my time, 11:12. So that's 2:12 on the East Coast. And after that point, it will move into Pisces. So the energy shifts dramatically from air to water. And the Pisces moon is very compassionate and sensitive, imaginative, and intuitive. And I put intuitive / mystical, because often Pisces energy, brings up this idea of the mysticism of spirituality, not just the religion or the dogma or doctrine of it all, but the mysticism in it, right? The mystery, the unknowable, and our search for answers along those lines, kind of like our DNA tests that take us through a search for answers in the physical world. This is our possibility to go searching for answers from the spiritual world. Now, also, the Pisces moon is emotional, and that emotion can create a little bit of confusion for us. And in that, also sleep disruption. It was funny because last night I don't know what I ate or drank before bed, but I was up seemingly 3 or 4 different times to go pee, and every time I'd go back to sleep, I would have another dream. It wasn't like I'd pick up on the dream that was there before. I would go into a different dream, and it was just kind of a crazy kind of night. And they weren't bad dreams, but there was a lot of confusion as to like, well, why am I here now, and what does this mean? So confusion, sleep, sort of disruptions. Maybe you're feeling more sleepy than usual. Maybe your night is very active, and so you wake up in the morning feeling like, did I even sleep? So that's for a couple of days where we might have that. There's also chaos in that confusion where you may be playing out in your dream state the chaos and confusion of the day. And so if there were something that was disrupting your day, it may actually find its solution in your dream state, where I think sometimes the dream state is where we can play out some of the unsolved mysteries, if you will, of the day. And in a safe way, right? It's showing up in a dream. And if we choose to really follow our intuitive selves here, we may even be able to tap into what the symbology of the dream was all about. So there's that. Joyfulness is also another expression of emotion in the sign of Pisces. Here's where we blur the lines from joy into bliss into ecstasy. It very much reminds me of the gate 58 in our human design, where we have that pure universal love, that feeling that we're connected to everything, and the joy that that brings us, the ecstatic experience of being one with the universe. And that is a very Piscean theme. When the moon is there, maybe our search is for that kind of ecstatic feeling, or that kind of joy, that bliss that takes us beyond the mundane crud of the day into the more sublime, right? The more I want to stay here, I want to have more of this kind of feeling. And of course, in the more negative aspects of Pisces, it's the search for that feeling, or the wanting to hold on to that feeling, that often leads us into addictions, where we can become too addicted to things that make us feel good, that generate that ecstasy or that joy. So, and even though those things are false things that create that, our continued search for that kind of feeling can lead us into addictions like, drugs and alcohol, or addictions like sex or gambling. We can be addicted to eating. We can be addicted to television. We can be addicted to books, video games, all these kinds of things. In our unconscious mind, we're searching for, I guess what we're seeing is that we have this hole, this void, and we need to fill it with something to bring us back into universal love, or to bring us back to joyful ecstasy. And we start searching for it outside of us instead of reliving it from within. So a lot to unpack with the moon in Pisces, at least on the spiritual level. Looking at your own life, and what are you searching for? What are you filling the holes with, right? What are you filling the holes with? So that leads us to surrender to a higher power, which is also completely possible during a moon in Pisces. Surrender, trust, let go, let God, all of these things, creating more spiritual awareness by creating space for that awareness to come, right? Letting go of some of those other habits, and coming into a more meditative experience, right? Quieting the mind. We still have Mercury in retrograde sitting at the gate 52 of stillness. So I know that'll be difficult on a day like today, with Mercury stirring the pot with Mars, or Mars stirring Mercury's pot, but it's possible, if you consciously connect to that stillness, to be able to hear the voice of spirit and to have that more spiritual awareness. This is also a time for spiritual healing, which is also very Piscean theme, through meditation, through yoga, through Qigong, through any kind of centering activity, asking angels and guides for help, right? We seem to forget sometimes that we have these unseen people with us, or unseen entities, or unseen, I don't know what else to call them, helpers, that can be useful in helping you align with what's proper for you in your life. And having that quiet time, to be able to tap in. This is also a time I've noticed when I start to see double numbers, triple numbers, um, letting me know almost that help is here, or that there is something more spiritual or more to the world than just the physical, what meets the eye. Um, Pisces also is the ruler of unconditional love, as we spoke about in a bit ago. And as part of unconditional love, we have forgiveness, we have acceptance, we have tolerance, we have oneness. That can be themes that pop up during this period of time. And those things urge us to let go of that victim, martyr sort of energy, the being a savior of everything and everyone around us. Urges us to release anxiety so that we don't go into panic and have panic attacks. Procrastination is also one of the more negative expressions of Piscean energy, and addictions. We already talked about that. In the body, colds and the flu and influenzas, all the virus germy kinds of things are a part of the experience in Pisces, right? Pisces, it's the ruler of the lymphatic system in your body, which, as we know, is influential in our immunity system, right? It's where the white blood cells are generated that kind of swallow up the bacteria or the germs or the viruses, and work to keep your body healthy. Uh, so in the body, it's colds, it's flu, it's germs, it's bacteria. It is also related to poisoning and toxins. So Pisces is a sign where there's a deep sensitivity for some of us around what's in our environment, whether it's sound, whether it's something you're eating, whether it's something in your environment that you're coming into contact with. What are you drinking? What are the emotional field energies that are around you? So that sensitivity is heightened during this period of time. And you may find that the same things that you drink or eat on a regular basis, suddenly you can't tolerate. And that's likely because there's so many other toxins around you that your body, that's just like one that topples the blocks, right? Have you ever played Jenga, right? One more little block and the whole thing breaks or tumbles. That's what's going on here with the moon in Pisces. It kind of asks us to purify our environment, to purify our body so that our systems can work better together. So this is not a great day to go out and drink alcohol or take drugs that you don't normally take, or to do anything that's extraordinary to what you would normally do, because your body may have a negative reaction. Then as well, Pisces rules the feet. So if you're having feet issues, then look to Pisces in your chart and see what it is that's going on. And I always think it's interesting to think about like the parts of the body in the Bible. Remember, Jesus was very big on washing people's feet like it was a sign of respect or a sign of deference to a person, to wash someone's feet. And Jesus is like the main figure of the Piscean age, or one figure, one spiritual figure that we identify with the Piscean age. So I always think it's interesting to look at some of the symbols of a time. And we're in, of course, the end of the Piscean age, transitioning over into the Aquarian age. So it's just kind of interesting to look at the symbologies, I think, sometimes. Okay, let's go back, see about questions. If you look at the Pisces part of your chart, by the way, that is where you're going to see where things might be out of balance. If you're experiencing anything out of balance, that might be where it's going to show up. Okay, let's see. Questions. Whoa, there's a lot here. I just bought, okay, so that's cool. Ancestry, J-Lo, I'm nosy. I am too. I like to call it curiosity. It's exactly right. Amanda, aren't you a Gemini too? So it's always curiosity. Amy, good morning. Everyone thumbs up the video. Thank you so much for saying that, reminding me to have everybody hit the thumbs up button. Please feel free to share the video with your friends or on any of your social medias. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below. I'm moving up there. I know yesterday it was over 400. Whoa, It's still a long way to 1,000, but I'm getting there. That's a good thing. Um, Allison, I just gave myself a pedicure. Oh my God, that's fun, right? Pedicure, your feet, taking care of your feet. I think sometimes we don't take care of our feet. Maybe women, we do a little better, right? You know, having the ability to go in and have your feet soaked and the dry skin taken and off and your toenails painted. And yeah, I always get the full on so that I get a foot massage. It's awesome. Great way to be pampered. And it just feels so good to release a lot of those toxins through your feet and to be able to be more grounded afterward. So that's always great. Time, we're doing good. All right. So today I wanted to show you some information about human design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen after I get this put up here about some of you who are in the membership. You guys will recognize this as a, uh, a slide we used during the presentation. Oops, share screen, not. There we go. Here we go. So what you guys should be seeing now is a very large screen of, oh, that is not what I wanted to show you. Week 2, there we go. Week 2 is the week that we're in with the human design template. And in that we have a theme. Every week there's a theme that shows up with the intent of our next level of spiraling in our consciousness. We can put it that way, or the next conscious part of our evolution. And this particular week 2 is about ambition and new beginnings. So the gate 53 is where the sun is sitting. And I'm going to transition in a few minutes to the other chart that shows us what the human design chart looks like. But the gate 53 is called the gate of beginnings, or the gate of the starter, beginning a new cycle. It is really the energy that takes us from birth through the maturing process, right? So from inception to maturing. And it is you could think of this as the gate, I often think of it as the gate of flowering or of ripening, right? Where it starts from the bud and, it starts from nothing until there's fertilization, and then there's something, and that something grows and matures over time until it becomes the mature expression. So your birth to maturing as an adult, but this also ripples out through our lives. So it's not just apparent in the growth cycle of a human, but it's also of any idea. Any idea, any new opportunity has its beginning, and then it matures into its full flowering. And the important thing to understand about the new beginning here is that it's going to be different for everyone, right? It's not that we're all supposed to start something new right now. It all depends. It's all based on your strategy that is based on your type. So manifesting generators, you're responding to what shows up in your outer world, not what comes up in meditation or dreams, etc. You're responding to what is showing up in your outer world. And it can be numerous things that there are out there to respond to. If you are a manifester, you are an initiator. So you're initiating something that comes to you that follows on your authority. So Asa, for example, you have ego authority, I believe it is. So what your will, what will I do, right? What will I want? What will I take part in? And then for projectors, you're waiting for the invitation. So you're a little bit, slower in getting out there to start something because you're really waiting for that right thing. And that right thing comes through an invitation. When you have the invitation, then it is that your energy aligns with that project or with that opportunity, so that you have all of the energy you need to complete that. And as well, for reflectors, you're waiting. It's so important for reflectors to wait that full 28-day period of time before they begin anything new. And did I cover all the types there? Yes, I did. So making sure you understand your type and your authority. The authority would be splenic if you have the spleen defined and not the emotional center. If you have the emotional center defined, meaning colored in your chart, then you are emotionally defined and you still are waiting for clarity over time. So you're going to use your strategy and your type and then also your authority to make the best decisions for you to start the right thing. And if you've started the right thing and the right timing, then it moves from that bud to that maturity with relative ease, right? And other times you can tell that maybe it was the wrong thing to start or the wrong thing to do because you're noticing that there's a lot of obstacles and things keep falling apart on you, and maybe you have to rethink what you're doing. Hopefully that helps. In the gene keys, we have interesting words to go along with the sun at gate 53. Immaturity being in the shadow, right? The inability then to take an idea or an opportunity from birth to maturity, and that's immaturity. The gift would be expansion, and the siddhi, I love this word, superabundance, right? When you know how it is when all of your circuits are firing together, things are just flying and it's perfect and it's working effortlessly. That's superabundance, right? Being super abundant, getting a lot done, being fully you, being fully in your authority. And that is the highest expression of our being at the right time, in the right place with the right opportunity. And it feels very expansive. Now, the earth is always in this combination of energies, is providing us sort of the fodder to get moving towards something, right? She is often creating the pressure for the evolution in toward your life purpose. And maybe one day we'll look at that in a gene keys chart so you can see what I'm talking about with that. So Earth will be at the gate 54, which is the gift or the gate of ambition or drive, the drive to achieve and the drive to become enlightened. It is sometimes thought of as the opening gate to our hero's quest or our hero's journey. So the hero, of course, is somehow prodded or prompted to go on some kind of quest. Maybe he needs the truth or he needs his sword of truth, and he moves out on that quest. Well, it has to be the right quest at the right time, or you end up with all kinds of obstacles. And you still may, even with the right timing, end up with a lot of obstacles to your ambition. But this is the drive gate, right? This is the one that really drives us to move out and to explore and to achieve. The shadow energy here is greed. And you can imagine in this world that we live in, how powerful that shadow is right now, where the drive to achieve is attached to greed, having more toys, having more money to buy more toys, having more money to buy influence and power. And that shadow is like one of the most pervasive shadows we have on the planet, where instead in the gift level, it is the gift of aspiration. And we move on into the highest expression of ascension when we are working on this shadow, right? When we move out of that shadow. So the Earth at gate 54 is driving both our physical world aspirations and our spiritual aspirations. And to me, I think of this as the rise up gate, right? This is that feeling that rises up within us to move outward and to do something. The trigger maybe even for our ambitions to go out in the world and become something more, to do something for others, to do something for ourselves, to discover who we are and our life purpose, and to go out. That's the drive. But we also need direction for that drive. And again, that's where your type and your strategy and your authority become oh so important. And let's see, Hero's Quest. So I think I told you about that. So it's a great combination of gate energy this week, a little bit stunted, I would say, by the Mercury retrograde square Mars, because it can really feel like we have an opening to start something. But if we're thinking that and with Mercury in retrograde, we could get caught up in our minds instead of really noticing that this is what our body is pushing us, prompting us to. Then we can find it being a harder path ahead for us. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to turn and share the human design screen chart. There we go. All right, so this is what our human design chart looks like. Well, that was interesting. There we go. And what you see here is the same chart basically that we've been looking at for a while, with the head and the ajna connected via the 6124. I told you that that was going to be a long-term kind of connection, because Jupiter and Pluto are sitting at 61, and soon Saturn will be there as well. Right now Saturn is at 60. And we have Uranus at the gate 24. So that channel of rationalization is with us for a while, with the shadows of addiction and the shadow of psychosis connected here in some way. So this is a channel, I think, that shows us how we keep trying to solve our problems from the same level in which the problem was created. And what it needs us to do is to move up, right, to solve the problem from a different level, from a different viewpoint, to apply new thinking, new innovation, and new ways of doing things to our older problems, so that we can see a path forward. Otherwise, it's just, banging your head on that brick wall over and over and over again. And this is happening on a societal level. Take a look around you, right? We keep trying to solve our problems with the same old things, not really looking at what the cause of the problem is and addressing it from the bottom up. That's what Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter have been hoping that we would catch on, and we would see that we can't just keep doing things the same old way, that we have to maybe throw over some stuff, take the best of something and throw over the rest, so that we can rebuild, right? Rebuild. So there are a lot of great people out there talking about some really interesting things, but the people in power are the ones that keep holding us to the old way of being and the old way of doing. So until we can change some of that, we are doomed to keep repeating this psychotic sort of repeating pattern. Now, when we look at human design, the gates of the week, they are at the root center. We've been dealing with this for a while too, as we've been through the gate 52, we've been through the gate 39, we've been through 41, 58, 38. Now we should be, let's see, next week, we jump out of the root center next week. So we're at the last two gates of the root center, where we've been dealing with the energy here of endurance and perseverance, and the idea of doing versus being. And this being a pressure center, there's an inordinate amount of pressure on us to take some kind of action, to do something. And then, of course, you figure that we've been in various states of lockdown or restricted in some way from living our lives the way that we used to be able to do that. You can see where the last several weeks have been very frustrating, and where people are, just doing things that they know they shouldn't be doing, just because that pressure is so palpable. Now, gate 54 is right here, and its only outlet is up to the spleen at gate 32. So our drive for ambition, our drive to, complete a goal or to go somewhere, is linked then with the energy of service in the spleen, and intuition in the spleen, instinct in the spleen. The gate 32 is a gate that we think of as success or failure. It's often the gate called the gate of success, but I think sometimes we also see the fear of failure here. And sometimes it's the fear of success. And so we have to push through fear in our drive to get out, to bring that energy from the pressure here up into the other energy centers for expression. I mean, we're trying to get it up to the throat center, right, to get expressed or manifested. The gate 53 is part of what we call a format energy, and it formats the need for us to move up in the world, to mature our lives in the world. It's the pathway to maturity in all life forms. So a format energy is one that we can say we share with all life forms, and that is the format of moving from, birth and immaturity to maturity, and being fully able to express our life force. And as a format energy, then we all carry this gate. We're all here to go from birth to death, if you will, or from immaturity to maturity. But if you have it defined, you have a very definite way of getting there. If you have it open, which means that gate is white in your natal chart, then you have an infinite number of ways that this can take place in your chart. And now suddenly the gate 53 affords you an opportunity. By definition, the earth or the sun sitting here focusing you on a direction for a new beginning. So everybody might experience these two gates a little differently, but everybody has those gates in their chart. I think sometimes we are afraid, like, oh no, I don't have that. But you do, right? You do. And let's see, what's sitting at 16? Ah, Venus sitting at 16, enthusiasm. And this is the one to watch out for too, because Mars is sitting at gate 17, and 17 is called the gate of opinions. And everybody has opinions. And it is one of those times now. Hold on, I got to get rid of something here. There we go, because that keeps popping up. And anyway, everybody has opinions. Opinions are only meant to be shared when they are invited out of you. So be aware of that one, right? Too many opinions being spouted out there, too many people speaking before they're thinking, and how that gets us into trouble. Okay, questions about human design this week. You will be at 1,000 so soon. I hope so, because I've been struggling with this for a while, and I'm ready. I'm just ready. Camelia, sorry. How do we associate the date to the I Ching of the day? I have an I Ching book and would like to read the hexagram for each day. I've tried searching for it online, but haven't found anything. So here is a book that I think might help you. It's called The Book of Lines. I'm going to go back to Zoom for a second so I can, there we go. The Book of Lines by Ketan Parkin. And it is a 21st century view of the I Ching, the Chinese Book of Changes. And I'm not, I guess because there's so many different planets that likely, even the moon though, doesn't change hexagrams. Yeah, I guess it would change it a couple times a day. So is that what you're looking at? Maybe is the moon. So you can, this is why I love this book. For one thing, it has a page inset in it that shows you all of the different gates. This is a human design mandala, and it shows you all of the different gates and which signs they are a part of. And we'll go into that maybe on another day, how to read that part. But there's also okay, hello, get to it. Let's just go to a gate, any gate. So in this book at the bottom here, it'll tell you, this is the gate 11, by the way. It'll tell you what parts of the, come on, stop that. You were nice and focused for a moment. So this looks like this is a Sagittarius gate, and it gives you over here the degrees of Sagittarius that are affected. Tells you what part, what the channel is that it's a part of. And then over here, as a body transits through a hexagram or through a gate or through a gene key, it comes into different lines. There are 6 different lines. And you'll note that in your human design chart, where you'll have a number and then like a little exponent above it. That little exponent tells you what line that the sun was in, or the planet Saturn, the moon, whatever was in at the time that you were born, or where it is in this particular moment. So let me look at something really quick. I want to see if I can show you. Yeah, I can show you. And in some programs, share, there we go. In some programs, like the Jovian one, it's a 53.2. That's the line. So anything on the right side of the point is a line. In neutrinos, it shows it as an exponent, and that's the one that I most often send to you if you're requesting a chart, is I'm sending you it from neutrinos. So you're going to see it as an exponent. So it looks like a math problem, right? 53 to the second power. But it's really the line that it's in, and that further refines the expression of the energy in that particular gate. So let's look at 53, and I'll just read it to you since we're looking at it. So 53 in the I Ching, if you can see, it says new beginnings. Let me stop sharing the screen here. We see it's in the line 2, so we can go there. So it's about new beginnings and development. So that's what the I Ching hexagram is all about. Is about development. Gradual advance takes place as an organic process that begins increasing self-knowledge and experience. So you get the idea of it increasing. And this picture here is what the I Ching symbol looks like for the gate 53. Then over on this page, you have the different lines that it's in. And it's in the line 2. So 53-2 says, fortune smiles, the sense of security in your growth. And growth can be easy and shared as long as you remain alert to your own inner guidance. So you see today then with the sun at the second line of gate 53, it is about our ability to tune in to our inner guidance. And interesting because that is also mirrored in our Pleiadian-Earth energy of the day, which is 4, intuiting, right? Today's the foundation energy of 4, and it defines our reality. It sets our boundaries. It stabilizes. The number 4 stabilizes. So we come to a pause point to stabilize everything from the 1, the 2, and the 3. And it is also stability, but without getting rigid, right? We don't need to be rigidly stuck. We need to be able to be movable. And intuiting is about listening to the heart or listening to the inner guidance, the inner voice. And that connects us to the wisdom of the cosmos or the wisdom of the universe, to our inner voice that tells us the truth about what it is that we're here to do. And it also aids us in our search for universal truth. So isn't it nice how these things sort of work together? So in the I Ching, fortune smiling today, where tomorrow, if we look at tomorrow's, it's going to be in the 3rd line because it's moving from 1 to 3, 1 to 2 to 3. And that's a scrutinizing day where it says, watching your step when engaging in all new endeavors. Be clear that you cannot always predict the effects that your developments have on others. So it's deeper wisdom and it can go day by day. But you have to be it all goes rolling back to knowing yourself, right? You have to know yourself. You have to know your human design. You have to know you first before you can really truly get what's going on in some of these other things. But these are great guides to help you learn more as you're on your journey. So the Book of Lines by Ketan Parkin. Discover the person you were born to be. That's a tantalizing title, I think. And it's a fairly easy book to read, and he's got a lot of direction at the beginning of the book to help you. So there's that. Okay, questions, comments. Can I help anybody with anything? I know it's connected to gene keys, but I don't know much about human design. So human design, I'm getting this sense. I'm getting this sense that it's really time for me to maybe transition more into away from astrology, even though I'm not going to leave astrology because it's so, foundational to what I do, and teach you more human design, because human design is really giving us some deeper answers than I think astrology can do for us. So that will help when you really understand your type, when you understand the strategy of your type, and then you understand the authority in your chart, your role as seen through the profile. And there's all these parts that, we could take a deeper look at each of those energy centers, and are they colored in or are they white, and how are they connected and are they not connected, and how that affects you. So it's huge. It's a very big study, but we can break it down into some key parts that make it easier for you to understand. Gen Lack, gate will equate to the keys in, gate 53 is gene key 53. Exactly. They build one upon the other. And Jen says, thank you so much. That breakdown gave so much information. Indeed. And Camilla, amazing. Thank you so much. Yep, you're welcome. And it's so magical how it's all interconnected, isn't it? That's why I just love this idea of the gene keys and of human design, because it's so coherent to the ancient wisdom traditions, like the I Ching, like the Jewish Kabbalah, like astrology, and even the chakra system, the Hindu chakra system, all there, all those elements right there in that body graph and on that page. And then you take the next step in the coherence, which is what we know of with quantum theory and also with the human genome, knowing that we have 64 hexagrams, we have 64 gates, we have 64 gene keys, and on your DNA there are 64 codons that express the traits of who you are. They code for proteins, proteins that express the you of you. And they're arranged in so many different ways. You know, you see that in your genetic phenotype, right? The way that you express the genes that, you know, were given to you from your parents, you know, whether you have blue eyes or brown eyes or blonde hair, you know, black hair, all those things, those traits, as well as your personality traits. So it's fascinating to me how there is that coherence between what science knows and what wisdom traditions or divine systems have knowledge of, and how they're coming together. And I think where they meet is human design and the gene keys and the I Ching. So the system that we're playing with right now. All right. So anyway, that is it for me today. Tomorrow, what is tomorrow? Thursday. A fairly busy day with the moon fully in Pisces. No big changes tomorrow. I think maybe we'll take a deeper look at human design. We'll track some different things. In the meantime, have a great day. Be calm, cool, and collected. Remember, we're running hot and we're running cold. So let's be warm and not hot or cold. And take your time in making decisions. Make the right decisions. Use your type and your strategy. And I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye now.